everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for giving us your Saturday afternoon. Gosh, it's wonderful to see so many of you here today, and we really, really appreciate you coming, so thank you. My name is Kristen. I'm from the community group Electrify 2515. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting here on traditional lands of the Darrell people, and I want to pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. So today we've essentially got two parts to what we're doing here today. So the first hour is going to be informational presentations with a series of guest speakers, and the second half is an opportunity for you to talk to a range of experts here today, ideally with your own personal questions that are suited to where you're at. We have a range of different tables that we're kind of going to set up. We are going to need a couple of minutes just to do a little bit of a rearrange at the end. So if you can bear with us for that, but we'd love to chat with you more one-on-one as well. So please stick around after the end of the presentations. So today is all about getting on started, I guess, with our electrification journey. And could I just see a quick raise of hands who came to our community forum that we had last year in this room? Wonderful. Well, thank you for your ongoing support. That's really great to hear. And if you return because you're hoping to get on Australian Story again, I'm really sorry, but unfortunately that's not the case. But since actually that recording, we've had so much interest from all around the country. So we're just a little kind of community group, but we have been contacted from every different corner of Australia asking how can they be as great as the residents of 2515 and the Illawarra to get something started where they are. And I just think that that is essentially what we're trying to do here, and it's really, really exciting. It's definitely the thing that I'm most driven for, is that getting as many people around the country to take action so we can try and address this climate crisis collectively. So thank you for being one of those community members showing support for what we're doing as a group. And speaking of that group, a huge thank you. If you could all raise your hands, because the volunteers are wonderful, and we are all just people that are really concerned about the issue, but also just really excited to get something done. So thank you on behalf of the group. Thank you. So today is about solar power, essentially, and it's really, like, I guess, the foundational or the building block of this sort of electrification concept that we're championing as a community group. And we are so lucky as a society, or as a country, because Australia actually has the world's cheapest energy in our rooftop solar. And so this is about how can we kind of take advantage of this resource, take advantage of the resource of our abundant sunshine, and try and accelerate the amount of solar capacity that we have in our community so we can unlock some of the other electrification initiatives as well. So thanks again for coming. I'm going to start with a bit of a video. This is produced by one of our wonderful volunteer team members at Good Chat, just to get you in the mood. So thank you, Laura.
We're just really excited to see our community accelerate on clean energy and get started on this all-electric community journey.
We have chosen to electrify as a family. We're motivated and interested, and we're prepared to invest in that process.
We can power a whole house on a solar system. That's really exciting to me because it means pretty much zero power bills, but also a much cleaner and more sustainable way of doing everything.
I'm Phil O'Brien. I work with Sun People Solar, and I'm a member of Electrify 2515.
My name's Trent. I'm one of the directors of AG Solar. We're really excited to be a part of the Electrify 2515 project. Renewable energy is something that we're very passionate about.
Electrification is everything. We want to try and power a whole house just with solar electricity. It's here, it's happening.
Hey Dave, how are you, mate? We're trying to film around here. I'm famous.
Give it up for the Good Chat team, loud. I'm excited. So our first speaker today probably needs not much of an introduction. Dr. Saul Griffith is now probably a household name in our area. Personally, I've been working on the climate change issue for about 15 years or so, and I haven't had the privilege to work with a single person who has had as much positive impact as Saul has had. I really feel that we're so lucky as a community to have him as one of our own. He lived in America for 20 years, and his organisation, Rewiring America, was one of the key designers of the world's biggest ever climate change legislation, being the Inflation Reduction Act. And he returned to Australia about 2 years ago and is on a mission to do something similar here in Australia. He's also the barefoot kind of bandit you might see cutting around on some of his electric inventions. So he's kooky, he's wonderful, and please welcome Saul.
I'll go with kooky. I'll own that today. This community, my community, you guys continue to impress. It's 3 o'clock on a lovely Sunday afternoon, and we're all here talking about Saturday afternoon. Thank you. It's been a long week. I went to Canberra, lost a day there. But still, even more impressive on a Saturday. So I'm here to give you the big picture. Thanks to the volunteers of 2515, thanks to you all and your commitment to electrifying 2515, I can give you an update for the influence that we've literally had on the national climate solutions agenda. So I went to my first ever budget night, and I was in the lockdown where you're not allowed to take your cell phone, you go and you watch Jim Chalmers read the speech. It was very exciting and fun. And in that speech, he announced $2 billion for electrification, about $300 million for small businesses to electrify and get more efficient devices, about $600 million for social housing, which was extraordinary, and then $1 billion in financing through the CEFC. I had Jim Chalmers, Chris Bowen, and Jennifer McAllister all come and say that without what Electrify 2515 had done in sort of raising the awareness, proving that there was demand, that you literally made that happen at the Australian level. So thank you very much. I think this is really the best of democracy and citizens like moving policy by showing that they know what they want and they know how to move forward. That's great. Also in that bill, which was extraordinary, was a big $3.7 billion announcement for skills training for this energy transition that we're going to go through. So that's extraordinary. Yale Stone's over here with her organisation. Hopefully they give her all the $3.7 billion. So those are really positive. Even more exciting and positive to me was I had to hang around Canberra to the next morning, and the last meeting I had, I guess that was Thursday, was actually with Chris Bowen's office and his team. In the tiny little details of the budget, there was $5.7 million allocated for the government to design a response to the Inflation Reduction Act for the next year's budget, and his team had come and asked us to help them with that. So that's very exciting. That is their commitment. You know, I think they had to get over the safeguard mechanism. The safeguard mechanism, anyone here think they know what's in it? Neither do I. Apparently it's climate related. It's very complicated. It won't really solve any emissions reductions this decade. It's industry focused specifically. The government also did, what was the other piece of climate legislation they did? No, before we got there. Oh, we did Rewiring the Nation, sorry. Rewiring the Nation. It was a little $20 billion. When you go to Canberra, you're just like, oh, I forgot about that $20 billion. So Rewiring the Nation is another big government piece of legislation they got passed. That is to connect all the big regional renewable energy projects, like the big solar projects, the big wind projects, to do the transmission lines. Again, that won't really do any emission reductions for about 5 years, because it takes 5 years to commission and build and get these things going. As all of you know, or many of you know, we really need emissions reductions much sooner than that. So we've been scaring the government by the idea like, oh, you know, you're not really going to have any emissions reductions to show for you at the next election unless you invest in Australian households. And I think they've bought that line, so hopefully I'll be fighting for you and the rest of Australia for that for the next year, so I now know what my homework is. The other extraordinary thing about Electrify 2515 is we must have a couple of hundred other communities around Australia, literally every state represented, who wants to do this same type of public showing. Not going to commit to this, but Chris and I are excited about maybe getting 5,000 of us or so to show up at Parliament House in the next year to try and, you know, put the razz up the government. But I actually, again, I really thank you all for the extraordinary things that we've done collectively to show the government that Australia is ready for this. We're over the culture wars on climate change. We're ready to do what is required in our communities. So that's been extraordinary. Also, you should all pat yourselves on the back. We've got Wollongong City Council right behind us. We actually have an extraordinary local federal member here, Alison Burns. She has been an extraordinary champion for us with the federal government. We've also been very lucky. Her husband, there's no nepotism here at all, I'm sure. He is now the planning minister for New South Wales. So we're getting his help. So we literally have kind of a dream run with support at all levels of local, state and federal government for what we're trying to do here. And they're also helping us elevate the issue in a big way nationally. And that's super exciting to me. I'm gonna have to duck out a little early, so I'm gonna take a couple of questions now. If anyone has any burning questions, what Jim Chalmers was wearing, maybe.
2 questions, big picture.
Can I hear something about energy efficiency measures that go along for low interest loans?
Yes, so there'll be there's a big piece of the budget this year was announced with $1 billion in efficiency and electrification measures through the CEFC. They haven't given enough detail yet to know how that will play out. We're going to advocate for the CEFC to use that to backstop loans and to lower the interest rate on the loan. So very likely that it'll look like access to lower interest loans, and for a lot of households who struggle getting loans, the government will step in as a guarantor. So that's pretty exciting. Compared to the US, we're still about only 1/10 of the spending of the Inflation Reduction Act, so that's what we'll be fighting for in the next year, is actually a lot more to increase programs such as that help every household finance. And again, the thing I think that was really encouraging about the government, they're very aware that they have to make this work for all households, so the $300 million that went for social housing that's now matched by the state is their commitment to figure out how to do this for all households, which I think is a lovely commitment.
One more question for Saul. Nick?
So in the US, with the Anti-Inflation Act, or whatever it was called, I assume you have to get a majority of Congress on side to vote that through the Congress. In Australia, do you have to do a similar sort of thing where you need to get the coalition on board, or can it just go through with Labor? And are you getting the coalition on board?
David Pocock, Adam Bant came straight up to me after we all got out of lockdown and we're all high fives, and they had fought hard to push the government further on the safeguard, but they had fought very hard, particularly to get this in, some of these measures in the budget. So I think Adam probably deserves a big round of applause for the $1 billion to the CEFC. All of the Teals are sort of lining up behind this movement. They see that it makes good politics. Honestly, every one of their Teals electorates has something like Electrify 251 starting up there, and then Labor is backing in behind it now. So I think they have what they need, but I think the way that they'll do it here via a budget, they have enough. I don't think they need anyone to jump over from the dark suited crowd, because it was super interesting, right? So here I am, and I was literally looking straight down the middle, and all of the Liberal and Nats were over there, the crossbench was here, and Labor was here. It was like dark grey. And it's the first time ever we had a majority of women in the government, in Labor, so there was actually kind of super colourful there. And then below me in the teal section, it's just orange and pink and rainbow. So it was like literally the most colourful Australian government ever, probably, which was, that was the fun fact of the night.
Great. Well, can everyone please just give it up for someone who's doing something for the community? Because I am going to now pass it on to my fellow Electrify 2515 teammate, Francis. Francis is a technical whiz, and he has been deep in the application process for the Australian Renewable Energy Agency to try and see if we can get any funding to run a pilot project. It's something that we've been sort of trying to share with you along the way, and we realise sometimes it's hard to know exactly what's going on. It's a very complicated process, to be honest, but here's Francis to shed hopefully a little bit more light on where that's at.
Hello everyone. Yes, hopefully with the next 10 minutes I can give you guys a bit of a sense of what we think a pilot might look like and feel like for people in households, and a little bit more detail on where our funding's up to. And we do want this to be a bit of a reality check about, you know, how much funding we might be able to get and what to expect. One of the most important things we want to encourage people to do is not let us hold up your electrification journey. There's no need to wait for these subsidies. We're not going to give away that many free things or any free things, to be honest. So I want that to be the first thing that you take away from this is that we really want to encourage our community to keep electrifying regardless. But here's how we got here. And I want to remind everyone that when we launched our survey, we wanted 500 signatures, and now we've got nearly a third of the households in our postcode that have expressed interest in Electrify 2515. So it's so good how much of this community wants to get behind this, and Saul's talked about the influence that's had on a national stage. What the pilot is not just switching things onto electric. We've talked a little bit in the past and today about the importance of what we're doing here to the climate, because what we need to do is stop emitting carbon directly out of our homes. But it's also going to be the case that if we do this right, we're going to be able to do it very quickly, and we're going to be able to make our energy system a lot cheaper. And that means not just switching onto electric appliances and electrifying everything, but it means using our electricity smarter. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And using it in the middle of the day. And based on that, continuing to build on solar and getting as much solar soaking into our community as we possibly can. So there's really three big parts of what we're planning to try and drive with this pilot. So I want to talk a bit about each one of those. When we surveyed everyone, we got these numbers of current electrification. So at one level, what this pilot is about is helping people move their house forward with these 6 key items, and we've talked about this in the past, but things that heat things up, it's your cooking, your water heating, and your space heating. Things that drive you around, like cars are the most important thing, and then where your energy comes from, and so that it can come from your roof, and when the sun isn't shining, it might be able to come from a battery that's inside your home. This community is really excited and open to doing that, and these are the numbers of the percent of people that are open to switching each of these things. It's pretty much everyone. It's really hard to write any poll that gets everyone answering 92% one way. But over 80% of the community is up for all 6 as well, when you kind of like just eliminate people that aren't up for 1 or 2. So this community is really keen for it. When we talk about electrifying everything, and the reason that we think it's important to have a pilot suburb charge out and do this in a concentrated way, it's because we really need to be ready to move quickly for this climate challenge. We think that the economics, especially for cars and for batteries, are going to start looking really, really good probably in about 2 years from now, is the way that the price of battery curves are going. It's still a little bit marginal, the actual economics right now, to put the money down on cars and batteries. And there are lots of other good reasons why you might want to buy a nice shiny new electric vehicle. But if you just look strictly at a spreadsheet and saving money, today isn't quite the day, and we want to bring that future forward. Because the day that that future arrives, when it's affordable for people to do it and it's a good idea for people to do it, this whole country needs to be ready to move as quickly as we can. So the same goes for installing all of these appliances. We are going to need so many electricians, so many refrigeration specialists, so many plumbers to make this switchover happen. And we want to have a real life pilot that demonstrates the reality of getting those trades organised, just the logistics of supplying the devices, learning all of those hard things that we need to learn that also set us up to move as quickly as we can. So that's why we think this pilot is so important. It's not just a matter of like running a bunch of national ad campaigns that say, get an electric cooktop. It's actually the practical community reality of doing it. The second thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to use this energy a lot smarter. If we succeed and electrify all this stuff, we're going to need 3 times as much electricity in total as we used to. And if we do it in a dumb way, as I've put it here, we're going to have a ton of extra solar in the middle of the day and a ton of unmet electricity demand running through the night. The labels are a bit small on here, but the giant grey lump that runs through the day is the projected demand for electric vehicle charging across the day that's projected out from what it looks like right now. And the big red lump underneath it is your water heater. And those 2 lumps do account for a significant chunk of this, but there's lots of other energy uses in your home that cause little peaks, which are also really important to the grid. The smart energy future is lining all of that up with the solar window. And the more energy we can use and the more we can make the energy usage graph look like the one on the right, the cheaper and faster we're going to be able to get an energy transition and revolution done. So that's a very important part of this pilot, and there's lots of different things we'll be doing in the pilot to help people make that transition to smarter energy usage. Some of them are going to be technical, and we're going to hear a little bit about some of the very early proof of concept things we've done with a HEM system to help switch things on and off at the right times, like your hot water system, so that it's running during the day. Some of them are going to be economic, and we're going to start seeing new kinds of electricity tariffs that give a different bill structure that actually make energy a lot cheaper during the day. So even if you couldn't access solar for some reason, you can access the economic benefits of the fact that solar is becoming really cheap in the middle of the day. And we're really hoping that we'll be able to pilot one of those styles of tariff as part of our pilot as well. So adding to that economic structure that will help people benefit from moving that energy around. And the last one's just behavioural and thinking in this way and understanding that when midday is the new off-peak, maybe the best time to run the dishwasher is going to be just after breakfast. And instead of having the crusty wheat Bix when you get home, you'll have nice shiny bowls. That's my pitch for it. You might have also noticed there's a huge amount of charging that we're going to need. And one of the reasons we're all here is we're going to need a lot more solar. And that's partly on our house, and we're going to hear from a few people today about that. And it's one of the reasons we, as a pilot team, really want to encourage people to consider getting the most solar that they possibly can, because if you look forward into the energy demand future, if what we're doing succeeds, we're going to need so much solar energy. But it's also the case that it doesn't just have to be solar energy that's on our roofs. We're also very keen to see lots more energy generated in our community. There's a lot more rooftops that are available. This library has an enormous rooftop with big northern sun on it, and it doesn't have any solar on it. So keep mentioning that to your local councillors anytime you note them. It's a bit of a brain dead way that council organises to get solar on things. They don't even consider how much money they could save in the library if they got it. There will also be, as part of the pilot, looking to roll out EV chargers that help people use that energy during the day after we generate it. So having EV charging available in the places where people's cars spend the day. So while you're parked at the train station, if you've gone into the city, having a charger there that uses the solar energy to charge up cars. Same in supermarkets, same next to playgrounds, same while you're going for a swim at the beach. So I'm probably taking way too long. But I do want to talk about the 2 big funding applications that we are looking at, and the ARENA one is the one that's much more progressed, but I'll give a quick update on the New South Wales funding opportunity that we have as well. So ARENA is a national federal agency that invests in renewable technologies, and What Arena's very interested in, having been across our pilot for a long time, is in the suite of smart energy usage things that I've talked about. They really want to see how much can we actually push energy usage into the middle of the day. They're not as interested in the things that we think are really important around the actual logistics of installing and electrifying things, but we know that that's a really important step to actually show people what the grid is going to look like in 2035 when houses look like what we get set up here. And they're also interested in how community assets are going to support that to happen. So to run people through how we got here, Rewiring Australia put together the big and really complex application about this Arena pilot late last year. We first submitted it at the start of this year. We got really good feedback that said this is a high merit proposal towards the end of March in 2023. We are currently revising the submission based on that feedback right now. And we hope to resubmit and face the final panel and the final judgment by June. The fact is that Arena does operate slowly, and that would put us probably having signed contracts and things and maybe ready to roll out with the pilot in October. And there are a few phases that are early in the pilot that are basically proof of concept stages. So realistically, the upgrades that we're talking about that we might be able to fund with Arena funding probably are starting in early 2024 at this point, and to be honest, that's the good path that we're on. So I want to be very transparent about what to expect, because we really do want people to be able to make a good decision, especially as they're making decisions about their home appliances right now. What might we spend that money on? I want to put 150 disclaimers on this slide about how much money there might be, but I want to give people a sense of the rough amounts that we're talking about. So we're not talking about funding an entire solar system. In fact, we're here today because the subsidies for solar make it such a good decision economically to do that there's no way that any government agency is going to fund more subsidies for solar right now. But these are the average amounts that we think we might be able to spend on particular items in households, and we think we'll be able to be flexible depending on install situations. So one of the most important things we want to learn from this pilot is the different kinds of households. Australian household stock varies a lot, so we might be able to support different houses with different amounts depending on the install costs that they face. But this is to give you a rough indication, I think, of the amounts that we might be able to put forward. Participants in this program will probably also get fully covered a pretty significant upgrade to kind of the central brain of their electricity system for their home. So we're going to talk a bit more about a HEM system. I've mentioned it before, but that's a system that can control the energy appliances inside your house so they can respond to things like it's midday and the sun is shining. And there might be some households that need switchboard upgrades, and that's a part of the pilot that we want to cover for everybody. There will be funding, hopefully, for community assets in that application as well, that would include community EV charging, potentially community solar, and potentially a community battery as well. Arena's announced a lot of funding for that, and they're interested in learning how batteries will help this transition. And a bit more on generating the research and output that Arena wants to see from the pilot. So that's the Arena update. A short update on New South Wales as well. So you would have maybe seen in the news that the former Treasurer Matt Keane came to the Illawarra to announce an exciting electrification pilot funding amount of $8 million. And that's very much thanks to the very direct lobbying of Saul and the Rewiring Australia team. They got the former government very interested and behind this kind of project. And the new government is also behind it and interested in it, but they, as a matter of course, are reviewing the spending. So we would have loved to be announcing that the New South Wales government funding is rolling out today in this area, but the government is going through a process to design a tender for what communities will receive that funding. The really good news is that what that government program seeks to do is really strongly aligned with the things that we want to see. So they're interested in the basic ingredients of the installation process, in the community reality of electrification, and also in an equitable rollout. So making sure that everyone can be supported to electrify and not just taking on the low-hanging fruit. The state government funding is really behind that. Maybe we won't get any funding, and there's still a lot we can achieve as a community. We really do expect that we will, but there's so much that I think we can do without any funding anyway. We're here today because solar energy is going to be the bedrock of the energy transition, and the more of it we get in the community, the better. It's still the case that today, if your hot water system breaks, you should definitely take the chance to get an electric one. That's going to be the right long-term decision for your house. And, you know, if you look at the numbers, basically retail gas is probably going away inside the next 15 years if we have even a modest crack at meeting our energy climate transition targets. So that's my personal advice to people, is consider whether or not you want to get a fresh gas appliance that might not be supported in 15 years from now. And keep telling people about it, because this is a community movement, and the most important reason that people make decisions and change their minds about this stuff is because of the discussions they have with their friends and the advice that they get from them. So thanks everyone for coming along. I'm sorry, I'm sure I took way too long, but I hope to get lots of questions for you after we finish yakking at you.
Francis, myself, and most of the people wearing these t-shirts are happy to add some more questions about our kind of pilot project or anything today afterwards in our mingle session, so please seek us out. Okay, our next speaker is another volunteer team member from the Electrify 2515, Davin. He is a local architect and passionate about solar energy. And he's actually going to talk about probably what a lot of you came here for today, is actually what is this solar rollout we're talking about, what are the logistics of it, how did we get here, and how can you get started. So thank you, Davin.
Thanks, Kristen. Okay, see if this one works. Yep. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the vetting process, how we came to choose the installers that we've decided to partner with, and sort of what the offer is. So we formed a little working group and had consultation with other community groups that have rolled out similar processes. And we sort of picked everything that they did well and didn't do well, and we learnt from that. And then so we, I just want to thank all the solar working group for the countless hours that they've put into this, because we looked through in-depth business surveys, and we interviewed and tried to get as many reviews about solar panels and what the best quality were, so that we can actually give you a really good offer as a community. So the main things that came out of that process was the quality of products, what the warranty period's going to be, what happens, if your inverter breaks. You don't want a 5-year warranty on your inverter. You want the best that you can get. The other thing that came was customer service. Things break, and you need to have a good company there that you can get in touch with if something happens. And the other thing is safety protocols. So we assess all the companies to make sure that they've got really good safety. Like, working on a roof is really dangerous for all the workers, and also for the people that their house is going on, the solar's going on. So those are the key things that we focused on. So the other thing that we were concerned about was recycling. You probably heard a lot about how there's bad recycling within the solar industry. A local E2515 member who works for the UTS Sustainable Futures put us in touch with PV Industries, and we vetted them too. We had an interview with them, and we understood their process to be leading in solar recycling, solar panel recycling. So what they do is they strip down the aluminium, and they put that off to recycling, and all the wires goes to e-waste. And then they've got a proprietary system that they've developed that delaminates the glass from the wafers, and they actually use that, crush it, and put it into non-structural concrete. So both solar installers that we've chosen to partner with have decided to go with PV Industries, and so every single system, solar system that comes off, will be recycled through leading solar recycling, which is fantastic. So we've chosen two providers to partner with. And AG Solar, led by Trent and Daniel at the back, they've shown themselves to be really quality installers within the region. And Sun People, led by Dave and Phil, bring a client-focused approach to their solar installs. So both are fantastic installers, and they've really come to the party in terms of trying to achieve Electrify 2515's goals and support our community. So who is it for? We're not just promoting solar for Electrify 2515. If you've got people that are south further in the community, then yeah, tell them, because everything applies to them. If you're new to solar, we're trying to give you information to break down the barriers to try and help you understand what it is about. If you've got some solar, as Francis said, we need to expand systems, we need bigger systems. When you get that EV and you need to charge it, then we need as much solar as possible. And we've also got options for renters and strata, which you will hear later. So what we've done is we've developed a price guideline, and it's based on 4 different options. This will all be on our website, and you can go there. There's great frequently asked questions there. But it's a sort of a guide. So everyone here, you don't have to go with these chosen solar installers. You're free to make up your own choice. But you can rest assured that we've done a huge vetting process and that you can trust these 2 installers. So we've got a standard string inverter system and a premium string inverter system, and then a standard microinverter system and a premium microinverter system. And now the offer for Electrify 2515 participants, if you come through our program, you get 10% off any solar install. So the margins are really quite low in the solar industry. It's a really cutthroat industry. And for these 2 companies to provide 10% off is absolutely fantastic. There's also a solar monitoring system. There's solar analytics that they have a stand outside. They've also offered 20% discount. Again, it's something which is an option. You can go through it, but it's a fantastic offer that they've provided. So what is a string inverter and a microinverter? Basically, a string inverter is one single inverter which is usually located near your meter box, and that converts the energy from, from DC to AC. So it's a pretty simple system. It's probably the majority of systems, and the benefit is if something goes wrong with the inverter, you just come and swap it out. A microinverter is a system it means that you have a little inverter on every single panel. So if you've got 20 panels, you've got 20 microinverters. The benefit here, and the reason it's promoted, is that it deals with higher levels of shade, and also solar installs which are on different facing roofs. So these are 2 options. Again, your solar installer, when you get in touch with them, they're going to look at your site and they're going to suggest what is the best solution to your needs. A little bit about solar analytics. So it is a monitoring system. So it enables you to look at the solar you're producing, what you're exporting to the grid, and what you're consuming. So it's fantastic to sort of get an understanding of when you're using energy. And then they've also got a plan optimizer in there, so you can see what your best deal from an energy retailer could be. And you can also, there's a nifty little battery calculator, so you can see if it makes sense to buy a battery, what size battery it would be, and the return on investment in that battery. Just jump over that one. So as Francis said, changing behaviour is going to be really important for this. So basically we want to get you to use as much solar as you produce, because that makes sense. So if you they're going to work with the solar installer to design for your current and future needs. So if you're thinking about getting an EV in the future, then yeah, go big. The solar installers, have a chat to them too, because they can also shift your hot water to daytime usage. So most people have got a sort of a nighttime off-peak heating up of your hot water. It's better to use your solar during the day. So these little small things that you can change, along with your habits, putting the dishwasher on during the day, as Francis said, putting the washing on during the day, just trying to use up as much solar as you can, because that's the cheapest form of energy that you have. So what are the next steps? So head along to our website. There's a nifty little solar page. It's got all the frequently asked questions. If it sounds like a really good idea to you, go there, fill in the form, and you will get to select to go with either AG Solar or Sun People. And from there, they'll get your details, and they'll get in touch, and they'll design a system for your needs. So yeah, we're really, really excited to get as many people on solar as possible. So yeah, let's fill out those forms. And you get to look like these lovely people.
I also just want to pass on my thanks to AG Solar and Sun People for their real enthusiasm for partnering with us, and also the generosity in offering a discount. So yeah, thank you to both of you. We often get asked from people who live in an apartment building or some other kind of strata property, how could solar work for them? One option is there's a company called Illume who just to the right here, or your left, sorry, and Will is here for you to speak to him afterwards. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we're just going to do a really quick demonstration of how Illume has come up with a solution for strata properties.
In Australia, rooftop solar is very compelling, both environmentally and financially. And it's led to over 1/5 of our roofs having solar installed, which is a fantastic number of people reducing their electricity bill and their carbon footprint. But this opportunity to do so has only been available to homeowners of standalone detached buildings, leaving multi-dwelling residents missing out on this rooftop solar revolution. Illume was founded to change that. So we built the SolShare, the world's first solar power division control system, which for the first time allows rooftop solar to be affordably and easily installed on multi-tenanted buildings.
Okay, sorry, that was very short, but basically there's a solution available for strata properties. If that's you, because it might not apply to all of us, we didn't want to go into every detail, please go and seek out Will to chat more about that afterwards. Okay, our final speaker today is another volunteer, wonderful Peter. He wanted to give you, I guess, a bit of a case study of going down the solar route. So Peter invested in solar about 18 months ago, and he just wanted to share with you how it's kind of worked out for him and what it sort of looks like on a day-to-day operability. So thank you, Peter.
Does it work? Hey, it does. This is the solar system set up on our roof at Coaldale, which was set up 18 months ago. We had 18 of these panels and a Fronius inverter, 5 kilowatt. And this is the business end, what happened. Since 2014, we've had an average of about $500 a quarter for our electricity bill, and got the solar installed. And this is right in a La Nina year when it's cloudy and rainy, but it's still dropped down to $100. That was in the summer and autumn, and then popped up again in the winter and and spring. But this last summer and autumn, we got credits, so it was doing pretty well. There's no battery, no. Well, hey, the solar system works better than this. So, no, we could go back here, okay. So the annual savings, roughly it costs you $2,000 a year. It was costing us before we put the solar in. And even with the La Nina year, it was getting down to averaging $400 a year. And we reckon it's probably better than that. So at the very least, you're saving 80% of your bill, and it's saving us $1,600 a year. So it's rarely you find a product where it exceeds expectation. Usually engineers are a bit grumpy about those sort of things, but this is good. And this is, we're trialling a monitoring system. And now I'm not sure what Francis was saying, this is the dumb way of doing it and the smart way of, we're kind of part way, we're not quite smart yet. They're a bit dumb. But you can see here, this is the solar, the new off-peak. That's the edge of that yellow is the solar coming in, and including clouds coming over in the afternoon, so it spikes back down. Never perfect. And roughly, this was on the 2nd of May, and we bought $2.07 from the grid, and we got 77 cents for giving it back. In fact, kilowatts wise, we produced 10 kilowatts and bought in 7, so the pricing makes it go the other way. So what were you using the power for at 2 o'clock in the morning? It's the fridge. And with these systems with the monitoring systems, you can really see where all your power is going and pick out the big things from the small things. Lighting doesn't even get a match now. With LED lighting, you don't see anything. But there's our early morning cup of tea at 6 o'clock. The aircon and the heat pumps are fantastic. You can see spiked up when it started, but then dropped right back down to less than a kilowatt as it ran through, because it was a cool morning. Then breakfast, boiling the jug, and we're a bit late to the craze of making sourdough bread with COVID, but we're still doing it. And that was running in the oven in the middle of the day. And you can see that fitted underneath the solar curve, so that was all free, the power for that. And my very clever HEM system is just a timer. It switches the hot water on in the middle of the day, but even that doesn't do too bad. We got most of it for free, but with a little bit at the top we had to buy. And of course dinner at night time, yeah, you got to buy it all. And this wasn't a brilliant day, and it's kind of getting towards the middle of the year where it isn't as good as it can be in the summer and in the autumn, but still pretty good. So as I said, it exceeded expectation for me, and $1,600 a year, really worth it.
Thank you for sharing your daily habits with us. We can all pass judgment on when you should have his cup of tea, but no. Okay, great. Well, this is wrapping up now the end of our formal speakers. We do often get asked, it makes sense in the long run with solar, there's a good economic case for it, but, it's still a bit of a whack on the wallet in terms of installing it to start with. And sometimes people say to us, yeah, that might be good, but we can't afford it. We're not financial advisors by any means, so we definitely are not going to constitute any financial advice. But we can tell you that a lot of people have explored the main options out there for you. So the key option when you're installing solar, firstly, if you can afford it and pay for it up front, fantastic. Secondly, the next option is you can look at your existing home loan and add it onto that, which is often a good solution. The third option could be that your existing lender often has green loan products that have good interest rates. For instance, if you're with Commonwealth Bank, they have a really particularly great green loan rate. And then the last commonly used option is there are actually specialist solar lenders such as Bright is one of them, and actually both of our solar providers are registered with Bright, so you can go through the Bright system and basically they will lend you the money and then you pay back an interest on that over time. So again, we're not financial advisors, so please go and talk to your accountant or financial advisor if you'd like more information to know if that works for you. But you're not alone if you think it's expensive up front, and there are definitely options out there. Okay, so now just for fun, if everyone could just check under their seat, we have 10 of Saul's books to give away. Saul has written The Big Switch, and he's also written the latest quarterly essay. If you've got a golden ticket, hold up your hand. There's one, and Davin, you can take a choice. And just, sorry, just a couple more final things before we break into the next part of our information. Thanks everyone. Davin will just hold it up and he'll come around. Thank you. So for Electrified 2515, thank you. Thanks everyone. Just so you know, after this solar rollout, basically it's a 3-month partnership that we're running with our 2 solar providers, and we are encouraging you to contact us with feedback. Hopefully it's longer than 3 months, but we're trying to provide a good vetting service and making sure that we're still recommending quality and of service. So please get in touch with us and let us know how you go if you do intend to use this rollout. We are also going to be working on the next phase of our project, which is going to be electric transport. So please keep following us, and again this will probably be wider than 2515 because it's not necessarily falling within the ARENA or New South Wales Government applications at this stage. So we're hoping to organise an electric vehicle bulk buy and also e-bikes and e-scooters. So stay with us, where that will probably be around sort of August, where is our intention. So in terms of the stands that we've got happening, so please go and talk to, so we've got AG Solar up in one back corner with Trent Daniel and his team. In the other back corner we have Phil and Tim and their team. We've got Illume with the Strata option to your left. We have High Neighbour is out in the foyer, and they're a fantastic community group who are looking at retraining or just training people to join the kind of clean tech revolution. So please talk to them about skills and trades and what they're doing. We've also got Solar Analytics, which is the software monitoring company. They're also in the foyer. We've got our community group, Electrified 2515, will be at the front, and another one at the back, so please talk to us as well. And thanks again for coming. Thank you for your support. We hope, wish you well on your solar journey if that's what you choose to do, and please get in touch.